Thank you, Senator. I know. That'd be great. Thank you all very much. Now, let me tell you, when I come to Iowa, and I've come many times, I came back the first time in 2010 to right in the fall campaign when Governor Branstad decided to come back and save Iowa from big debt Chet Culver. And I came in here in September. I was a brand new governor. I had been governor only 8 months in New Jersey, and Governor Branstad asked me to come here and to raise money for him and to campaign for him. And Iowa was one of those states for Republicans where we're really starting to be able to build an Iowa Mount Rushmore for Republicans. And we know which two faces are the first ones that will chisel up on that Mount Rushmore if we had one here in Iowa, and we should. And it would be Terry Branstad and Chuck Grassley. And here's why. Because what I've learned from watching the two of them is that honor and hard work still matters in politics. Honor and hard work still matters. There's all kinds of slick commercials and slick mailers and, folks who don't tell you the truth, just try to get elected in any means they can. And then there are those who think what really matters is to tell you the truth and to go to work every day. Imagine this guy. It's not like, he's the United States Senator from Maryland or Virginia. If he was, having as many consecutive votes as he's had would still be a great accomplishment. But he's from Iowa. And there's always going to be an excuse for him to miss a vote. And people would say, well, geez, Senator, you only missed 1 or 2 votes. It's okay. That's not the way he looks at it. He feels like you hired him to do a job, and he's going to do it. And you feel the same way about Governor Branstad. Goes to work every day, the longest-serving governor in the history of the United States, who is still just as enthusiastic today about doing his job as he was back in the 1980s. So I hope someday you all decide to put together a Republican Mount Rushmore here in Iowa. And if you do, I got your first 2 nominees, and one of them introduced me today, and the other one's introducing me tomorrow. So, Senator, thank you very much. I appreciate it very much. And now I'm going to give a couple of minutes about why I think those 2 first-term United States senators shouldn't be president of the United States. So hang in there, okay? Here's the thing. I thought the most important part of the debate on Thursday night in Des Moines was this. And it was important not because of the subject matter. It was important because of the way you saw the candidates react. And a lot of deciding who's going to be the president is about how people react in situations that they cannot anticipate. Because when you're president, there's going to be lots of situations you can't anticipate. Just like when you're governor, there are lots of moments you can't anticipate, but you got to react. So here it was. It was on immigration. All right, so I was standing up on the stage, and Megyn Kelly says she wants to talk about immigration, and the first thing up on the screen in front of all of us, and there were screens facing us too, like there were screens facing you, was a video of Senator Rubio. And Senator Rubio, first they had Senator Rubio in 2010. And Senator Rubio said he was against amnesty or legalization in any form for people who came here illegally. Perfectly acceptable position, I think, for anybody to take regarding immigration. Then they showed Senator Rubio in 2013, where he was smiling and was the lead Republican sponsor on a bill with Chuck Schumer that was going to give amnesty to folks who had come here illegally. Then they showed video from 2015, where Senator Rubio said he was against amnesty and legalization. Okay? Then they showed video of Senator Cruz. Senator Cruz was saying he was against amnesty and legalization in any form. Then they show him in the Senate in 2013. He says, well, no, actually, he's for Senator Rubio's bill if, in fact, Senator Rubio would change amnesty to just legal status rather than citizenship. And then they show Senator Rubio or Senator Cruz again saying, no, I'm against amnesty and legalization of any kind, and I always have been. And then the video stopped. So then they gave those folks an opportunity to explain themselves. Now, when you listen to their explanations, And, Marco gave his, then Ted gave his, then Marco told Ted he wasn't telling the truth, and then Ted told Marco he wasn't telling the truth. Then Jeb Bush got in and said neither one of them were telling the truth. Then Rand Paul got in and said his truth was better than any of their truths. And I was just kind of sitting there watching the whole thing. And here's what I concluded, and I think most people felt the same way I did watching it. I finally interrupted and I said, this is why most people believe that you need a Washington to English dictionary to convert the way they talk in Washington to the way they talk for all the rest of the country. I mean, I know what happened there, and so do you. They changed their minds. They changed their minds. Now, I want to tell you something. I don't think there's anything wrong with changing your mind. We're living, breathing human beings. We take in new information all the time. We hopefully think about that new information we take in. And if you do, and if you change your mind, there is nothing against the law or against the moral code for changing your mind. In fact, lots of people might see it as a virtue if you get new information and circumstances change and you change your mind. Here's why it was so important on Thursday night, because neither one of them would admit it. Neither one of them would admit it. Why? Why? Why wouldn't they just admit it? Why just look in the camera and say, I changed my mind? It would end Megyn Kelly's question immediately. Well, which one of those videos do we believe, Senator Rubio? Very dramatically. And if Marco Rubio just looked into the camera and said, ladies and gentlemen, you saw that I had different opinions there between 2010, 13, and 15. And you know why? Because I had different opinions. And I changed my mind, and I thought about it, and you know what? I don't think that my position that I used to hold is right for America, and so I changed my mind. Okay, then what? What would be the follow-up question? So you changed your mind? Yes. That would be it. But instead, they try to hide it. They try to make you think that what you just heard and what you just saw, you didn't just hear and didn't just see. And this is what the problem is with politics in Washington, D.C. You have too few people like Chuck Grassley, who just comes out here and says what he thinks. And too many people like Senator Rubio and Senator Cruz, who now that they're running for president after 2 years and 4 years in the United States Senate, think they can't possibly have changed their mind, because if they do, that admits to you that they're flip-flopping, and oh gosh, who wants to be charged with that? I think Ted would be flip-flopping, Marco would be flip-flop-flipping, like that, because there's a couple of changes in there. But whatever it is. What they want you to believe is that they never had changed their mind. It's always where they were, and you know differently. Listen, beware. Beware of people who are willing to do that on a stage in front of 12.5 million people. Because if they're willing to do it then, imagine what they're willing to do when they have all the power that comes with the presidency of the United States. If they think when they're a candidate they can make you think that up is down and down is up, imagine what they'll do when they actually have real power. And so when you're a governor, you can't do that. Because when you're a governor, you're expected to deliver. See, senators, like those guys, are there to talk. Governors have to deliver. We have to deliver something tangible to you. You expect us to balance a budget every year. You expect us to deliver on education. You expect us to deliver on job creation. You expect us to deliver if there's a flood or a tornado or a bad snowstorm. You expect us to be there and deliver results. Last weekend, I was campaigning in New Hampshire. A big snowstorm was coming to my state. I'm in the middle of the last 2 weeks of a campaign for president that I've put a lot of my life into. It wasn't even a decision. I got in the car and I drove back to New Jersey. And as the snow started to fall, I was there. And as we started to clear the snow, I was there. And when our trains were back running and our roads were back open, then I left. But not until then. Because as a governor, you expect me to be there. Senator Grassley, he's been to more consecutive votes now than anybody in United States Senate history. Senator Rubio says that doesn't matter. He doesn't go and vote anymore because he says his vote doesn't matter. Imagine if Chuck Grassley thought that. My vote doesn't matter. Rubio says his vote won't matter until he becomes president. Okay, then why'd you take the job in the first place? See, we got to be careful about this stuff and careful about folks who are not going to do what they're supposed to do. And that's why I thought it was the most instructive part of Thursday night, because I just answered the question, because I thought that's what you're supposed to do, right? I didn't know that we were supposed to have a whole prepared statement about why what we just saw we didn't see. I got to work on that. Maybe for the next debate, next Saturday, a week from today, I got another debate. We'll work on that for a week from today. That's why. That's why it's so important to vote for somebody on Monday night who's done something and delivered, and not somebody who's just talked about it. We got enough talk in Washington, D.C. Talk is cheap, real cheap. And we've delivered for the people of our state. And you give me the chance to be president, I'll deliver for this country too. Absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, here's the thing. I'm happy to be here, and we're going to get to the good part of the program now, which is you get to ask me questions and I get to answer. One thing I will guarantee you is this. You will not leave here confused. You may not like every answer you get. You may not agree with every answer you get. But you won't walk out, turn into the person you came with and say, geez, I wonder what that guy thinks. I wonder if he has an opinion on that topic. I don't really understand the language he uses. He talks over my head. You will not have that problem. You ask a direct question, you'll get a direct answer. You'll either like it or you won't, but you won't say afterwards, boy, that guy was trying to dodge it. I'll answer it. We'll see where it lands. I only have one rule for my town hall meetings in Iowa. When I do my town hall meetings in New Jersey, and I've done 134 of them as governor, I have 4 rules. That tells you everything you need to know about the difference between Iowa and New Jersey. I need 4 rules in New Jersey to keep decorum and keep control. In Iowa, only 1 rule, so it's really good. Although I had to invoke the rule today, and I'll tell you about that in a second. The 1 rule is just raise your hand and I call on you. That's it. 1 rule. Now, today, I had to invoke the rule. Now, I was at, what was the name of that place? Chrome Horse. I was at the Chrome Horse today in Cedar Rapids. And it was a big crowd. We had like 350 people there. And I got done answering a question, and this guy just started yelling out his question. And I turned and I said, man, 1 rule. Raise your hand. How hard is this? And he kept talking. I said, no. Sit down. Keep quiet. I'll get to you later, but you're not going to be. But I said, no. We don't reward bad behavior. Look at all these other people with their hands up. We're going to get to them. You're going to keep quiet. Now, of course, in New Jersey, the way I would say that is sit down and shut up. But I was in Iowa, so I had to be nice, right? Had to be nice. And but to show you that I'm a person of a big heart and great compassion, after about 4 more questions, he didn't even have his hands up anymore, the poor guy. He was like, all right, I'm not getting my question today. I just walked right over to him. I said, now, does everybody want me to take his question now? What do you think? And they all clapped. I said, okay, we'll take your question now. So that's the only rule. Raise your hand, and I'm happy to call on you. I am also happy that my wife is here today, and I want to introduce her to you. Mary Pat. All right, raise them up, and I'll call on you. Let's start with this lady right here. I'll take care of it. There you go.
Hi, thank you so much for coming out and speaking with us. My name is Ortal. I work in the health field, and I'm part of a large network of colleagues, young professionals like me, as well as students who care so deeply about global health. And we're so thankful for how eloquently you've spoken about the subject. I know that previously on the campaign trail, you've committed to ending AIDS by achieving 30 million people on HIV treatment by 2020, which is so inspirational. And first off, I just want to thank you for that commitment and your dedication to that issue. But in order to make that happen, as you know, we need to significantly deepen U.S. support for health professionals in other countries and building up health systems there to make sure that epidemics like that don't get out of control. So I wanted to take this time to ask you if you would strengthen that commitment today by committing to a 5-year initiative to deepen that support and support 300,000 health professionals in frontline countries by 2020 and 500,000 community health workers in frontline countries.
Well, thank you for your question. And we had a colleague of yours at the one in Cedar Rapids who asked me the exact same question in almost the exact same way. You were a little bit better at it, right, than the last person. She was really good. The other person wasn't bad. You were very good, though. Here's what I'll say so that you go back and look at the tape. I will say the exact same thing to you that I said to her because it's what I believe. Yes, I do. I am committed, and I've said before I'm committed to getting as many people on AIDS treatment as we can, to get it to 30 million people by 2020, because when we save lives around the world, Americans say, well, why should we make that investment? People who are not suffering from disease are people who don't feel as if they're being treated with injustice. People who are not feeling like they're being treated with injustice are people who are more apt to be in a democracy, people who want to believe that they can work together with folks to solve other problems that are quite a bit smaller than preserving their own life. And so I think that what you do is you set up a more peaceful and a happier world when people know that there are treatments out there that exist to end their suffering, and we share them with them. I think that was the power and the majesty of President Bush's commitment to PEPFAR. I think he gets much, much too little credit from the mainstream media for having done it. I know he didn't do it for that reason. He did it to save lives. And if you talk to President Bush 43 today, he will tell you that is one of the things that he's proudest of about his 8 years as president. And he goes back quietly with no publicity, not getting paid. He goes back to Africa. He and Laura go back. They go to clinics that were set up there. They watch as people are getting these treatments and being taught how to use them. And it is a great, great ambassador tool to the rest of that part of the world about the greatness and the kindness of the American people. Now, I'm not going to commit to 300,000 to 500,000 because, quite frankly, I don't know how much that's going to cost. And I want to be able to make that judgment in the context of all the other decisions I'm going to make as president. But you know where my heart is on this. And so I'm going to strive for your goals, but I'm not going to promise your goals today. So the promise you'll get is that I'll strive to do it, but I can't promise you I'm going to do it all in the first term. Okay, so we're going to strive to do it, though, because I do believe that Americans feel in their hearts that they want to help others around the world. But we have a lot of work to do at home, too. And I want to make sure that we focus appropriately on the suffering and the needs of our people at home as well. And so I got to balance those two things. But it's a balance, not an elimination. And so we're going to work hard to do it. And I think every life that you save, and this comes from me being pro-life. Pro-life is just not being pro-American life. Pro-life is being pro-every life. And the life of a child born with AIDS in Africa is just as much an individual gift from God as the life of a child born here in Iowa or born in New Jersey. And so the root of my commitment to this is my pro-life philosophy, because I really do believe God does not put a creature on this earth that he doesn't love and wants his fellow creatures that he's created to care for. And if we can do that and we have the tools to do it, and we do, then we should. And that's what I'll do as president. Thanks for your question. It was great. All right. Yes, sir.
What's your thoughts about Social Security, and how would you sort that out?
Well, here's the good news. You came to the right town hall meeting to ask about Social Security, because if you went to 15 other town hall meetings by the other candidates, they would give you a blank stare and talk to you about tax reform. This happened, in fact, at the debate, not last debate, but 2 debates ago. Fox Business News Channel, Maria Bartiromo asked Senator Rubio, tell us, Senator, your plan for reforming entitlements. Senator Rubio gave a 90-second answer on tax reform. Now, it was a great answer. I mean, seriously, he gives the best 60 to 90-second speech I've ever heard. He's really good at it. He memorizes it beforehand. It's really good. He memorizes it. He says it with real seeming passion. But I kind of looked at it and I was like, it was about tax reform. And then his partner in crime, Senator Cruz, he then jumped in, and he wanted to say why, because don't you get the sense, like I do now, I've been on the stage a bunch of times, they really don't like each other. Like everybody else on the stage kind of likes each other. Cruz and Rubio, they don't like each other, right? And so Cruz then jumps right in, and he talks about why Rubio's tax plan is so bad and why his tax plan is so good. Then Rubio jumps back in to tell about why his tax plan is really better than Cruz's. And I finally, excuse me, Can I interrupt this debate on the floor of the United States Senate and actually answer the question that Maria Bartiromo answered on entitlement reform? And she said, I wish you would, Governor, and I did. And now I'm going to answer yours. And you know why they can't answer? Because they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. And this is why that's so obscene for anyone running for President of the United States in 2016. 71 cents of every dollar we spend in the federal government right now, today, is spent on entitlements and debt service. 71 cents of every dollar. Yet we spend more time in the debates talking about the 29 cents and no time on the 71 cents. And everybody is rightfully mortified by the fact that we have $19 trillion in debt, and yet they don't want to talk about the 71 cents of every dollar. It's like when they asked Willie Sutton, why do you rob banks? He says, because that's where the money is, right? So why do you have to deal with entitlements? Because that's where the money is, everybody. So here's what I do. First off, I have a 12-point plan on reforming entitlements. The good news for you today is I'm not going over all 12 points. But you can go to my website at chrischristie.com, and all 12 points are there, and they're scored by the Congressional Budget Office. My plan will save over $1 trillion over the next 10 years. So it's a real plan, it's a serious plan, and it's scored by somebody else, not by us. I'll give you 4 points. They deal with Social Security, 2 of them, and 2 of them with Medicare, which are the 2 biggest driving programs that we think we really care about. And Social Security. We need to raise the retirement age. And here's why. It's a good reason. We're all living longer. The average life expectancy for a woman in this country now is 83 years old. The average life expectancy for a man is 79. I saw that woman smile. That's not nice. Okay, now I want to remind you that 10 years ago, the ladies had a 6-year lead on us. It's now down to 4. You're right, we're gaining on you. This lady got it. We're gaining on you. And, you know, that 4-year vacation you're expecting to get at the end of your life from us, you might not get it. We may catch you. You may be stuck with us for your entire life. So we need to do this because we're living that much longer. Social Security was established based on a framework where people died in their mid-60s. Now we're living 15 to 20 years longer, and almost every one of those years is in retirement. It's draining the system much more quickly than we can put the money back in. So we got to raise that age. Here's what we do, though. I would raise it 2 years, from 67 to 69, and I would phase that in over 25 years. So it would go up 1 month a year, every year for 25 years. So now for somebody who was in Social Security already, it would not affect them. For someone who's close to Social Security, it would not affect them by much, a few months. But for our children, it would affect them significantly, and it should. We've got to fix the actuarial tables on this. We have to fix it so that we can spread this money out over a longer period of time. And it's important to do it. Now, remember, when I run this fall against Hillary Clinton, she'll say, Governor Christie has a Social Security plan that throws grandma off the cliff. I just want you to remember something. It takes grandma 25 years to hit the ground. After you threw grandma off the cliff, it takes her 25 years to hit ground. It's a long fall, man. So don't believe anything she's going to tell you about that, but we have to do it to make it sounder. Second thing we need to do is we need to means test Social Security. Now, let me be very specific about what that entails. Our plan says if you make over $200,000 a year in retirement, that means you probably have $4 to $5 million saved. If you have $4 to $5 million saved as you retire, the first thing I say to you is, God bless you. All right, good work. Man, you worked your whole life, raised your family, got $4 to $5 million in the bank. You did a great job. Next thing I'll say is God bless America, because it's the only place in the world you could have done something like that. But if you have that and you have $200,000 in retirement income, let me ask you a question. Do you really need a $1,200 a month Social Security check? Is it going to really change your lifestyle at all? I say no. That's $24,000 a year. No, I'm sorry, $24,000, $15,000 a year. It's not going to change the lifestyle one iota of the person who's making $200,000 a year or more in retirement. But who it will make a difference for is the person who's worked hard and played by the rules and paid into the system and is counting on that $15,000 a year to make the difference between rent and heat and food. And that's who the people we have to worry about. And the fact is that's what Social Security was set up to be in the first place, to prevent people living in poverty in their old age. And so now I know the argument because I've gotten it in Iowa and New Hampshire, the argument is, hey, wait a second, I put my money in, I want my money out. I'm with you. Yeah, I saw you. I could tell. And you're going, right, you want your money out. First of all, if you're not making the $200,000 a year in retirement, you're getting your money back. But let's put that aside for a second. You know why you're not getting your money back? Because the government lied to you and they stole from you. Well, okay. So if you know that the government lied to you and stole from you, because back in the 60s, Lyndon Johnson, when he was fighting the Vietnam War, decided he didn't want to raise taxes to fight the Vietnam War. So what did he do? He had that whole pile of money in the trust fund, and he said, okay, just changed a little bit of language in the budget that allowed him to go in and grab that money, and that's what he started to do, and every president's been grabbing it ever since. And this Congress just grabbed it, $150 billion of it, from the Social Security Retirement Fund, put it in the Disability Fund, right? Disgraceful. And guess what? When I gave this speech in April about entitlement reform, I told people, go back and look at the speech. It's on my website. I told people they're going to steal from the retirement fund to fix the disability fund. And Republicans did this. Republicans did this. It's disgraceful. It's not what our party stands for. But they've done it. They lied to you and they stole from you. And so the reason you have to do means testing is you got a checkbook balancing problem, right? You got more money coming out, not enough money coming in. When you have that in your house, you got two choices, right? Bring more money in or spend less money. Same thing here. I'm a spend less money guy. I think we should spend less. Now, Hillary Clinton will tell you, bring more money in. She's going to say, take the cap off the Social Security tax and charge people Social Security tax on every nickel they make. And she says that's to get after the rich people. Well, that's fine, but here's the thing. Mine gets after people who have done well also, because we just don't pay them a benefit at the back end. Why is my plan better than her plan to achieve that goal? Here's why. Let's assume, for sake of argument, that someone opened a new bank here in Waterloo, and you went to that new bank and you made deposits. And then a year later, that bank went belly up, and you lost some of your money. 6 months after that, you got a knock on the front door, and there's a guy there. You open the door, and he says, hi, how are you? He said, I'm opening up a new bank in Waterloo, and I'd like your deposits. And you look at the guy, and you go, yeah, you look like the guy who opened up the bank in Waterloo like 18 months ago that went belly up. And he goes, I am. And he said, well, why should I give you more money? And he said, because I learned. Now, I know people in Iowa are really nice. I mean, now, I've been coming here since 2010. I've been meeting all of you. You are really nice folks. But I'm telling you something, I could tell by the look on your face, and this guy I know for sure, right? You probably, him definitely. You're not getting your money. You're not giving that guy your money, are you? All right. Well, then why would you give it to the government? They did the same thing to you. They did the same thing to you. But what are they going to tell you this time? Oh, give us more money, but we swear this time we won't steal it. All right? Let me ask you something about this Congress, right? If they got three choices, raise taxes is behind door number one. Cut spending is behind door number two. Steal the money from Social Security that nobody's watching right now is behind door number three. Which one are they picking? Door number three, baby. They're picking door number three every day of the week, and they'll do it twice on Sunday. That's what they're doing. So why give more money to people who already stole from you that will just make the hole deeper and make us angrier? Let's not pay out some of that money. And that's the way we bring it into balance. And I do the same thing with Medicare. Raise the eligibility age 2 years, phase it in over 25. And for people who make over $200,000 a year in retirement and have $4 to $5 million saved, right now we subsidize those people's Medicare premiums 75%. I say let's subsidize them 10%. So they still get some subsidy for the money they put in, but they have the money to make up the difference. But you know who doesn't? The same folks I talked about before. And we don't want them dropping their Medicare and either going on Medicaid or going on charity care at the hospital, because that's a less effective type of health care for treating their problems, and we're going to pay for it anyway, just through different taxes. So let's not do it. We do those combined with the other 8 points, and the other 8 points deal with Medicaid and deal with the Social Security Disability Insurance Program. Those are the big four of the entitlement programs. We can save $1 trillion over the next 10 years. Solidify those programs' health, and also have some money left over to spend on rebuilding our military, which is what I would do with it. So that's what I would do. That's my plan. It's in writing. It's on the website. I've been talking about it since last April. And you'll notice, except for the two debates ago, every time there's an entitlement reform question, it comes to me. 3 times in the previous debates. Why it only comes to me? Because I'm the only one with a plan. Everyone else is hiding. And Rubio and Cruz want to talk about their tax plans. I'll talk about my tax plan too if you want to know about it, but not when you ask me a question about entitlement reform. When you actually ask me about entitlement reform, I want to tell you about entitlement reform because I think that's what you want me to do. Sir.
Governor, I'm delighted to see you here. I think the good people of Iowa learned about the Music Man some years ago, and we know the Flim Flam Man when we see him, so let's eliminate that guy right now.
We'll talk about him
Our
later.
Democratic brethren sent us a first-term senator, and we know how that worked out. We have 4 great Republican governors who've changed the lives of millions of people in their states. They're all great men. Why you over the rest?
Sure. First of all, I want to agree with you that my brother governors in this race are all good guys. I like Jeb Bush a lot. I like John Kasich, and I like Mike Huckabee. They're all good guys, and they all were good governors. John still is a good governor in Ohio. Here's the biggest difference. I'm the only one who's operated in a blue state with a Democratic legislature. And what that means is I've had to fight every minute of every day to get anything that I wanted done. I would give my left arm to have Craig Paulson be Speaker of the New Jersey Assembly for 1 week. Man, would we get stuff done. We wouldn't sleep. But every day of every month of every year that I've been governor, I've had a Democratic legislature. So what's that forced me to learn how to do? Stand up for principle and get things done at the same time. When you run with a Republican legislature, you don't have to worry about that. You agree on 99% of the things. You send stuff down the hall, they rubber stamp it, they send it back, you sign it, away we go. Will you fight every once in a while? Every once in a while. But not on anything of huge consequence. It's on the details. When I'm fighting with my Democratic legislature, it is on matters of huge consequence. Why does that better prepare me for Washington, D.C.? Well, you tell me. Which one do you think Washington's going to be more like? More like, as John calls it, sunshine and light in Ohio? Or is it going to be fire and brimstone? It's going to be fire and brimstone. I don't care who's there. That's what they're used to doing, and they need somebody down there who knows how to fight and knows how to win. And I had to do that now for 6 years as governor of New Jersey, in a state that has 750,000 more Democrats than Republicans, in a state that, before I got elected in 2009, hadn't elected a Republican to anything statewide in 12 years, and in a state that still hasn't elected a Republican to the United States Senate in 43 years. The longest streak of any state in America not to elect a Republican to the U.S. Senate. In that circumstance, in 2009, I'm the former federal prosecutor who runs for governor against an incumbent Democrat who's the former CEO of Goldman Sachs and spends $33 million of his own money against me. I get to spend $11 million. He outspends me 3-1, and I beat him by 4.5 points. And after I win, all the Democrats say, well, that's not because they liked Christie, it's because they hated Corzine. And he'll be here for 4 years, and then we'll get rid of him, and that'll be the end of that. And then what happened 4 years later? Well, 3 years later, Barack Obama was reelected President of the United States, and he won 58% of the vote in New Jersey. The next year after that, I'm running for reelection, and I'm running against a female candidate who's been a state senator for 18 years. Everybody knows her. And what happens in that election? I get reelected with 61% of the vote, 51% of the Hispanic vote, 22% of the African American vote, up from 9% 4 years earlier. And against a female opponent, I get 57% of the female vote. The difference between me and Kasich and Bush and Huckabee is not only that I've governed successfully in a blue state, which is going to look much more like Washington, D.C. than any of the red state experiences have, but also because I've won in the toughest place you can run as a conservative Republican. It's us in California. I mean, that's it. George Pataki was a 3-term governor in New York, for goodness sakes. Al D'Amato was a Republican senator from New York for 3 terms. Don't talk to me about New York. New Jersey and California are the bluest states in the country. And you heard Senator Grassley say it. You know, we won in as tough a place as there is to win. And the reason that's important is, before you get to think about what kind of president I'm going to be, I got to beat Hillary Clinton. And if you're not used to that type of battle, where you get outspent 3-1, and you're getting your head handed to you every day, and you got to get up out of bed, get dressed and keep putting one foot in front of the other and articulate a clear, consistent, conservative vision to the American people? If you haven't done that before, man, this is not the race for on-the-job training. The Clintons are going to roll out every truck they can find full of mud, and they're going to dump it. This is her last chance, and his last chance to get back in public housing. And they are not going to stop anytime soon, everybody. You got to have somebody who's tested and ready standing on that stage in September. And with great respect to brothers Bush, Kasich, and Huckabee, I'm just better prepared to deal with that. And there's no silver medal come November. It's not like the beautiful pageant they hold in my state, the Miss America pageant, where you have a first runner-up who serves. If Miss America, for some reason, can't perform her duties, when you lose the presidential race, you go home. No silver medal, no first runner-up sash, no chance to fill in for Miss America if, she can't fulfill her duties. Then you go home. We can't afford that. We cannot afford, as Senator Grassley said, 4 more years of what we've had the last 8 years of. And that's why I'm the better choice. I'm not going to attack those other guys because they're good guys. They're good governors. They've done a good job. I had a great conversation on Friday morning with Governor Huckabee. Mary Pat was there with me. I was waiting to go on television. So was he in Des Moines. And we sat there talking about the difference between governors and senators. And he said to me, Chris, in my experience, the reason why governors get elected is not because of what they know. It's about what they can do about a problem when they don't know. How you react from in here, how you're trained to fix problems that you couldn't have anticipated. That's the difference. And in my case, I've been doing that under the worst of circumstances. Because believe me, those Democrats don't get up in New Jersey every morning saying, hey, how can we make the governor's life nice today? And they've now had a belly full of 6 years of me, over 500 vetoes, every one of them sustained. They can't wait. They quietly, secretly, I'm telling you this, when it's dark at night and no one can see them or hear them, they're praying I win. They're like, promote the rotten SOB upstairs, man. Get him out of here so things can get back to normal in New Jersey. And that's why I think I'm the best person and a better person than Governor Bush, Governor Kasich, and Governor Huckabee, all 3 of whom I really respect and admire very much. Yes, sir. What's that?
Had to get him the hell out of Arkansas so that they get something done.
Yeah, that happened once before.
You spoke a lot about Medicare and Social Security. As a retiree, those 2 issues are very important to me and to a lot of other people in this room, I'm sure. But the question I have is, we hear about Social Security and Medicare all going broke, but we never, ever hear a word about welfare going broke. What would you do to address that issue as president?
Return to what we did, and since we talked about Bill Clinton, both of us kind of around the block, return to what the Republicans and Bill Clinton did regarding welfare and food stamps back in the mid-'90s, which is to put the work requirement back in. This president has waived the work requirement predominantly across the country. We need to get people back to work. And we need to talk once again about the intrinsic value of work.
We get more people on welfare, we do work.
Well, listen, there have been some months in this administration where more people joined Social Security disability than got a job. So it's not just welfare, by the way. It's Social Security disability. The reason they had to steal $150 billion is because it is runaway membership in Social Security disability. You don't barely have to even prove you're disabled anymore to get a Social Security disability. So the problem's even bigger than you're making it out to be. And it's because we don't have a president anymore who talks about how valuable work is. And not just for the paycheck, but work is valuable for what it does for the soul. When you know you have to get up every morning and you have to get showered and you have to get clothes on and you got to get out by a certain time and someone's counting on you to be there and your labors are valued and rewarded. And then you get to come home to your family and talk to them about what you did all day, what you experienced, what work meant for you. That's something that's valuable well beyond the paycheck. That helps to build families. That helps to reinforce values every day. And all of us in this room, I suspect, at one time or another in our lives, have done a job just for the paycheck. Maybe it wasn't our passion. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with that either. Because you got to support your family and yourself. And so as president, not only would I put the work requirements back in full force in effect like I've done in New Jersey, not only would we say on Social Security disability, and that's point 5 on my entitlement reform plan, and you go and see, go look it up, and what I would do to get people kicked off Social Security disability who aren't disabled, so that program is there for the people who truly are disabled and can't work. And we don't have to steal billions, hundreds of billions of dollars from the retirement fund to pay for it. But I would be a president who would talk all the time about the value of work to folks to make the next generation that's coming up understand that that is what the expectation of their leaders are. Not just their mother or father, but their president too.
There used to be a stigma about anybody who's on welfare. Oh my God, you're on welfare. And it kept people off the welfare. But then whatever's happened, the family unit has broke down, and that value is not being projected into the next generation.
Well, and that's what you and I are saying, exactly the same thing. And the way you raise social expectations is by having your leaders talk about it. That's where it starts. It starts there, and it starts in the house. And so, from my perspective, I need mothers and fathers talking about this to their children again. I mean, you know, we've got a 22-year-old son right now who is a senior at Princeton University, and he's, sending out his resume and applying for jobs. And as his mother and I are running around the country running for president, we're both calling him separately at times going, how's the job search going? How's the job search going? I don't want him to think for a moment that this thing is distracting me from my job as a father, which is, I just paid for 4 years of college for you, young man, and I'm expecting you to get your rear end out to work when you get that degree in May from Princeton, right? We're thrilled. We're proud of him that he got into Princeton. We're proud of him that he's achieved really well when he's there. And he's on the baseball team. He plays baseball. We're excited for him. This is his last year playing baseball. He's going to have a great time. But you know what? All that stuff is preparation and prelude for getting to work. And so that expectation has to start in our households. And the President of the United States got to say it too. And you never hear this president talk about work, ever. He talks with pride about how many people are on food stamps. He says that makes us a more compassionate country. I think that's a failure. Not because people who are truly in need are being taken care of, but it's because we're not demanding more. And a president needs to speak that way. That's the way social expectations get built again. And this president has broken that down over the last 7 years, along with lots of other things. And it needs to be rebuilt. But here's the great news. A new president can rebuild it. And this president will rebuild it. You can count on it.
How do you stop all the fraud that's in these programs? Like he mentioned, the welfare program. It seems to be just uncontrollable with everybody out there. There's so much of it that doesn't feel like there's anybody really overseeing it.
Here's the way I would start doing it, okay? It's a huge problem, right? It's a huge problem. But here's the way I would start doing it. Every one of my cabinet officers will be told on the first day that they are expected to return to me in their first year 1 penny for every dollar I send them. Go find 1 penny of waste and fraud for every dollar I send you. That shouldn't be that hard a task, right? Especially in Washington, D.C. 1 penny for every dollar I send you. And if you don't come back with 1 penny for every dollar I send you, then at the end of your first year, you can sign your resignation letter and go back to the private sector. And the reason that's important is, one, it's a tangible goal and an achievable goal, because we want people to achieve things. If you just say, I'm going to end fraud, waste, and abuse, and you don't put a number on it, people go like, okay, I'm trying, and nothing happens. We've heard it over and over again. So now 1 penny for every dollar, then that gives them a goal to reach. And what it does is change the mindset. Now the people working for them, because they don't want to lose their jobs, so they're telling the people underneath them, you got to get this done. Their mindset now is to look for it, where before they could be distracted by a lot of other things. So that's the way I would go about it first, is give people tangible, achievable goals and hold them to it. That's what a good manager, a good executive, a good leader does. You don't set big, high, lofty goals and say, I have to get those in the first year when you know people can't reach them. because all it does is discourage people. I want them to find that. Then second year, maybe we say, okay, we got 1 penny, let's find 2 pennies next year, because I got the 1 penny, now let's add another one. And in a $3 trillion budget, we're talking real money. Real money, 1 penny for every dollar. It's a lot, it's hundreds of millions of dollars that we can return to the taxpayers or use to pay off our debt. Those are the kind of things that we need to be going. So that's the way I would approach it. I think it's practical and achievable. People in the mindset to actually do it. That's what I've done in New Jersey, is like give people achievable goals and have them come back and achieve them, because when they do, they feel great about it. Do you know that, I think it's now, in 2 of the last 3 years, our labor department has gotten the national award for uncovering the most fraud in the unemployment insurance program. How'd that start? Because my labor commissioner and I talked about it, and he said, I think there's a lot of fraud in here. I said, well, Hal, go find it. Hire some people to go find it. He went and did it, and now they're fighting with each other inside the department as to who can find more. Right? It sets up a competition. It sets up that natural kind of human, and when they won it the 1 year, then the next year they didn't win it. Well, then there was turmoil over there, because they're like, I said, did we win the award again? They're like, no, sir. We didn't win. So you guys must be really disappointed. I didn't say I was. I said, you must be pretty disappointed you didn't win. Next year they won. And so that's the kind of thing you have to set up for people, incentives that are achievable. And then when they achieve them, to recognize them for doing it. It's not going to solve every problem, but it's going to get the problem starting to be solved, and it's a lot of money. When you're at the federal government, it's a lot of money. And we have a lot of needs in this country, and we shouldn't be wasting money that way. Now, they're telling me I can take one more question because I have another town hall meeting tonight in Sioux City. Yeah, I'm working, man. I'm working, all right? But I'm going to take 2 because you got a lot of hands up here. And here's why I'll take 2. Not only because you have a lot of hands here, but also because I'm the boss. And they can tell me all they want about what they want me to do, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And you know why? Because you know what it's like running for president? I'll tell you what it's like. It's being surrounded by people younger than you every day, 24 hours a day, who tell you where to go and what to do every minute. The only place that I am free from the tyranny of the young is right in here. They can't take this microphone away from me. They'll have to come and wrestle it out of my hand. So we're going to go to this young lady who's had her hand up for a while, and then we'll go to someone over here, and that'll be the last 2. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I've actually lived in New Jersey most of my life.
Where?
Cherry Hill.
All right, South Jersey.
Yep. And one of my main concerns is, do you have any plans to help individuals with autism?
Well, as you know, coming from New Jersey, we have the #1 rate of autism in America. Higher rate of autism in New Jersey than any state in the nation. And it's one of the things that Mary Pat has spent a lot of time as First Lady working on, and I've spent a lot of time working on. We've increased funding for children and adults, young adults with autism, significantly since I've been governor. We have worked on a program called Work First for people who are anywhere on the autism spectrum, to say that the first option should be work for those folks. And it goes back into what this guy was saying. Even if you're someone with a developmental disability, that we want your first option to be work. We want you to go someplace every day where your labors are valued and where you feel as if you're contributing something to your community, your society, and for yourself. And there's lots of folks on the autism spectrum who can do great work every day, but we need to educate employers about what kind of jobs that these folks are absolutely able to do and could do in what I found to be an extraordinarily conscientious way. And so we started the Work First program in our state. I think we're now the 15th state to do it. And what it says is, we are not going to assume that people with autism can't work. We're going to assume they can work, and we're going to give them the training they need, and we're going to help pay for the training for them to be ready to fill the jobs that are available out there. We should be doing that not just in 15 states, but in 50. Because if we can put more people to work, that's good for the economy, but it is also good for the soul. And here's the way we look at it. Mary Pat and I both have met so many parents who have children with autism. And all they want is the same thing we want. They just want their children to reach their fullest potential, whatever that fullest potential is. And it may be different, and it almost always is different from child to child, whether the child has a developmental disability or not. But as a parent, all you want is for that child to be happy and reach their fullest potential. And work is the way to get that done. So we've increased funding for people in the K-12 time. We've increased funding for when they age out of the system at 18, so they can be in group homes rather than an institutional setting where appropriate. Really important. Really important not to have to put folks in an institution. It degrades their humanity. Now, there are some folks who are so far on the spectrum that they need institutional care. So we have to have institutions for those folks. But most of them don't. And being in a group home setting, we've increased funding for group homes, is a place where folks can, again, help to really enjoy life. Part of what we need to do, as you know, is to beat down the stigma of having group homes in your neighborhoods. Because some people think that somehow that's either dangerous or hurts their property values, and it doesn't. Because almost all of these folks are, good, honest, law-abiding folks who, are just looking for their way in life. And we should be able to have them be part of that. And so that's what we've done in New Jersey. It's what I'd hope to do in the country. And we have more experience, Mary Pat and I both, on this issue than any governor and first lady in the country, unfortunately, because of the large rate of autism in our state. I don't know why it is. No one has yet been able to prove to any of us why. But there's certainly something going on in New Jersey that makes it worse there than any place else. And so you're from our state, you know what I mean. So we're going to continue to work hard on that. And if I get a chance to do it as president, we're going to bring that same attitude towards it. Work first, help people get out into employment, be in group homes rather than institutions so that their lives can be as full and complete as possible. That will not only make their parents rest easy at night, it'll make their lives a lot better too. So thank you for raising it. All right, let me go over here to this gentleman.
My granddaughter Caroline just got a BB gun. Are you going to take it away from her?
Heck no. Heck no. And I'm sure that her grandfather taught her how to use that BB gun and to use it safely. And what matters to me in this regard is this: we need to take criminals off the streets. Folks who cause violence in our society are 99% of the time the criminals. And you know this about criminals. They don't go for a background check. They don't respect a 48-hour waiting period. They're not worried about all the niceties that get put into the laws by politicians in Washington, D.C. or in the state capitol. What they care about is getting their gun, taking the serial number off it. They buy it in the black market. They use it to commit a crime. They dump the gun, and they buy another one. They don't go to the Walmart or someplace else to buy their gun. For those of you who do, I want you to be able to. I want you to be able to do that. I want you to be able to own your gun and be able to do that in a way that either provides for your self-defense, the defense of your family, hunting, collecting, whatever it is you see fit under the Second Amendment. See, because I don't think that the founders put the Second Amendment second by mistake. I don't think it was like they put all the individual rights and liberties in a hat and picked them out randomly. I think they put them in order for a reason. And the First Amendment has freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of association, freedom of religion, and freedom from establishment of religion. Those are pretty big things, and they put them first. They put the right to bear arms second. I think they put it second because they knew that they had just gotten out from under a big tyrannical government in Great Britain. And they were afraid about a big government own it and use it in the way that she sees fit. That's what our Constitution provides for. And as president, I'll happy to be on offense defending her right when she gets older, and your right for as long as you want it to. So thank you for your question. All right, I want to say two things for you before I go off to Sioux City for my fourth town hall of the day. So I was Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, now here in Waterloo, and now off to Sioux City. First, I want to say thank you. Middle of a Saturday afternoon, for you all to take your time to come here is really appreciated by both me and Mary Pat, to ask really good questions and to listen, and I appreciate that very, very much. And I tell people in New Jersey all the time, they ask me all the time what it's like to campaign for president in Iowa and New Hampshire, and I tell them if you've gotten the least bit cynical about democracy, come to Iowa and New Hampshire. You folks have been listening to us for a year. You've been coming to meetings like this, and guess what? I have great news for you. The end is near. We are going to leave you alone for a few months, right? We'll be back, though. We'll be back in August and September and October because Iowa's going to be a big, important state in the general election. You're a swing state, and boy, we Republicans really need to win it to take back the White House. But we're going to give you the spring and summer off from us. We're going to go harass other Americans around the country. But you've been harassed as much as anybody, you and the folks in New Hampshire. But you've taken it with great spirit and with great interest, and it reinforces my faith and confidence in our democracy. Because if people like you are willing to sit here today and listen to try to help to make your decision, that is a great, great confidence builder for our democracy. Second thing I'll say to you is this. This has been an entertaining campaign. I have been entertained. I suspect you have been entertained too. There have been moments in front of your television set or at your mailbox or at your radio or over and over and over and over at your telephone when you have been, I'm sure, entertained by some of the things that have been said. I mean, think about it. You know, we got governors and ex-governors, as that gentleman mentioned. We got senators and former senators. We got business people, and we got a character. All right? And so here's what I want to leave you with today. I have no problem with you all being entertained. You deserve it. You listen to a lot of stuff. Be entertained. It's good. I'm entertained too. You can see how entertaining it is being on that stage sometimes. It's very entertaining. But here's the thing. We're not electing the entertainer-in-chief. We're electing the commander-in-chief. And showtime is fun. Everyone likes to go to a show. But showtime is over. 48 hours from now, game time starts. And game time starts in Iowa. I was with Coach Ferentz this morning in Iowa City. He came to my town hall meeting. And I said to him, Coach, when game time starts, you want players on the field, right? Players who know how to play. He nodded. He knows. Anybody who's in charge of an enterprise knows that when game time comes, you want the players, real players on the field. And what struck me the most was last night, which town were we in with that couple? I was going to ask you that. No, we were in Burlington. That's where we were. We were in Burlington last night. Yeah, so it was, yeah, it's been a lot of towns and a lot of days, but we were in Burlington, and a gentleman stood up and said to me that he and his wife wanted to ask me a question about my military policy because in 4 months they were sending their son to Iraq. And I was really focused on listening to him, and then I looked next to him, and there was his wife who was sitting there crying. We have 4 children. I cannot imagine what is going through their heads right now as they get ready to send their beloved son over to Iraq. And what I thought about was, there were veterans there too at this event. And I thought to myself, there was a World War II veteran there. Who sent him into battle? Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman sent him into battle. I saw a Korean veteran there. Who sent him into battle? Harry Truman and Dwight Eisenhower sent him into battle. And I saw an Iraqi freedom veteran there. And who sent him into battle? George W. Bush sent him into battle. Agree or disagree with any of those men's politics, all of them, were great, dignified, strong men who loved this country and made us proud. Made us proud. Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, George W. Bush, they made us proud that they were our president. They conducted themselves with honor and dignity in the job. And when they were the personification of our country, when they were the face of our country, we were proud to have them represent our country. That people around the world would look at them and think, that's America. Dwight Eisenhower, that's America. And I thought, for these folks, the vote that's going to happen on Monday night is begin the choice of deciding who's going to send their son into battle, and more importantly, who's going to bring him home. I want you, when you go in to vote in the caucus on Monday night, to think about that father and mother. I'd love to have you picture that they're right next to you. and that you have to turn to them and tell them, I'm voting for this person because I believe that this person should be your son's commander-in-chief. That he'll honor him, and he'll protect him, and he'll do everything he can to bring him home safe. I got to tell you the truth. There's no time for entertainment in that equation. There's no time for amateurs then. That mother and father don't want somebody who's never done this before to have the life of their son in his hands. This is not for somebody who's never done it before. This is not for somebody who thinks these answers are easy or glib. This is not for somebody who will say anything or do anything to get the job. This is for somebody who you know can do the job. Because there's no one more at risk at this moment than that mother and father. Because they send their treasure, the son they've raised from in the womb to when they put him on that plane to Iraq to put his life on the line for us. It changed the entire way I view these last 48 hours meeting them last night. And I hope it changed it for you, because all the other stuff is fun. And listen, you know, I like to have as much fun as anybody, as you can see today. I have a sense of humor, and I like to have fun, but there's nothing humorous about who's going to be the next president of the United States. Nothing. Don't just express your anger on Monday night. We're all angry about what's going on in Washington, and we deserve to be. But you need someone who's going to be able to rebuild the place, not just burn it down. Because you know why? That young man and his mother and father don't want to hear why you want to burn down Washington. They want to hear you're going to put there to fix it so that their son's life is in good hands. Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, George W. Bush, those parents would have believed that their sons were in good hands with those men. Try some of these other names that are on the stage and see if you can keep a straight face when you say it. Try. Try. I'll tell you what, I bet you won't be able to. And if you can't, I'd suggest to you with all due respect, you got no business caucusing for that person. That young man's parents deserve better, and so does he. And I'm offering myself for president because I am prepared, I am tested, I'm ready, I'm serious, and I will treat their son's life like it's my own son's life. I will not be glib about it. That's what we need in the White House next time. We've had 7 years of glib, reading off a teleprompter, trying to convince us up is down and down is up. We don't need people who say things that are demonstrably wrong and then look us in the eye and say they're right. We need someone who will tell us the truth, and that's what I'll do every day that you let me be the President of the United States. So thanks for coming today. Good luck on Monday night.